Growth is rarely a loud, celebratory event. More often, it begins as a quiet, persistent discomfort, like a pair of shoes that used to fit perfectly but now pinch at the heels. You might look around at your surroundings, your routines, and even your closest relationships and feel a strange sense of detachment, as if you were watching a movie of someone else's life. This isn't a sign that something is wrong with you. Rather, it's a sign that you are outgrowing the life you once built. It is a necessary shedding of the old self to make room for who you are becoming. One of the first signs you're outgrowing your old life is a profound shift in your social circle. You might find that the conversations that used to excite you now feel repetitive or superficial. Maybe you used to thrive on gossip, late-night venting sessions, or bonding over shared complaints, but lately, those interactions leave you feeling drained instead of connected. It isn't that you've stopped caring about your friends, but rather that your internal frequency has changed. You start craving depth, inspiration, and growth-oriented dialogue. When you find yourself sitting in a room full of people you've known for years and feeling like a stranger, it's a clear signal that your soul is searching for a new tribe that mirrors your updated values. Building on that social shift is a second sign, a sudden, intense need for solitude. In your old life, perhaps you filled every gap in your schedule with activity to avoid being alone with your thoughts. But now you find yourself craving silence. You start protecting your peace with a newfound ferocity. This isn't about being lonely or antisocial, it's about integration. You need this quiet time to process the internal changes happening within you. You might find more joy in a solitary morning walk or an evening spent reading than you do at a crowded party. This pull toward solitude is your intuition's way of creating a sanctuary where your new identity can safely take root. As you spend more time in reflection, you'll likely notice a third sign. Your old coping mechanisms simply don't work anymore. We all have ways of dealing with stress, whether it's mindless scrolling, emotional eating, overworking, or staying in distraction mode. But as you outgrow your old life, these habits lose their effectiveness. They feel heavy and hollow. Instead of numbing the pain or the boredom, they start to create a physical or emotional repulsion. You might find yourself thinking, "I can't do this anymore," even if this is something you've done for a decade. This discomfort is a gift. It is the friction required to push you toward healthier, more conscious ways of existing. This brings us to a fourth, often unsettling sign, a feeling of stuckness despite doing everything right. You might have the job you wanted, the relationship you worked for, or the lifestyle you once dreamed of, yet there is a nagging sense of emptiness. You feel like you're playing a role in a play that is already closed. This happens because your external reality is still reflecting your past desires, not your current evolution. The stuck feeling is actually a misalignment between who you were when you made those choices and who you are today. It's an invitation to stop living on autopilot and start auditing which parts of your life still resonate with your heart. A fifth sign is that you stop seeking external validation and start trusting your own internal compass. In our old lives, many of us are driven by what society, our parents, or our peers expect of us. We ask for advice on every decision and worry about how our choices look from the outside. When you begin to outgrow that life, that external noise starts to fade. You become less interested in being liked and more interested in being authentic. You might make a choice that confuses everyone around you, like leaving a stable career or changing your lifestyle. But if it feels right in your gut, the opinions of others no longer have the power to sway you. You've realized that you are the only one who has to live your life, so you might as well live it for yourself. Finally, the sixth and perhaps most beautiful sign is a sense of anticipatory grief mixed with excitement. You feel a sadness for the person you used to be and the life you were leaving behind. It's okay to mourn the comfort of the familiar. You are saying goodbye to a version of yourself that kept you safe for a long time. But beneath that grief is a flutter of excitement, a knowing that something better, truer, and more expansive is waiting just beyond the horizon.
You don't necessarily know what the next chapter looks like yet, but you finally reached a point where the fear of staying the same is greater than the fear of change. Outgrowing a life is an uncomfortable, messy, and deeply personal process. It requires the courage to be misunderstood and the patience to sit in the in-between stage where the old is gone but the new hasn't fully arrived. If you see these signs in your life, take a deep breath and trust the process. You aren't losing your way, you are simply making room for a bigger version of your story to unfold.